So today we're with Matt BURRILL, a man I have a lot of respect for. He's been building these boats for electric-only reservoirs up in Maryland for quite some time now. And Mr. BURRILL, how did you get started building these reservoir boats?
Started as a hobby in '96 for my neighbor who still lives behind me. We've been fishing these reservoirs for a while out of, shoreline, waiting, renting a boat, and he asked if I think I could build one, and I said, I'm pretty sure I can. And that was, like I said, back in '96. And between '96 and 2013, I probably built maybe 8 to a dozen just for friends, buddies, myself, and then started this in 2013 as an actual business. And here I am today.
That is awesome. And of course, we're talking about Reservoir Boat Works, which is your business up in Maryland. And so just so people know, how can people get in touch with you?
The easiest way is to just go through the website, which is reservoirboatworks.com. You can also call the shop. The number's on there. I'm pretty much available 7 days a week, even if I'm out fishing, which isn't very often because most of the time I'm here.
Tell me a little bit about how you've evolved to building boats the way you build it now. How did you get started, and what all have you changed along the way?
Well, to keep things from being a 2-hour interview, like most guys, I started out in the world of plywood and building things like you would build a deck for your house, kind of the same type of principle. And I slowly started realizing none of that stuff's permanent. And it took a while for me to embrace the whole aluminum fabrication thing, because it is different than working with wood. For the way I put the stuff together, it took me a couple months of playing to get the precise pieces that fit together like a glove to build the superstructure and ultimately the top deck of these boats. So now today, there's no wood in this boat unless your boat came with wooden transom. Other than that, every single thing in this boat's aluminum.
Do you weld them or do you rivet them together?
I played with welding a little bit, and I think, as everybody knows who's got a Jon boat, welding is a deforming process. Anytime you weld on aluminum, you see it. And I started to realize that to make the fit and finish that I insist on, you have to build these inside of your boat. So every one of these boats that I do, I'm actually in it, fabricating the stuff inside out. So the fit on everything is precise. And I just don't think you could do that welding. I don't know if you could sit in the boat while you're welding on it. And I can certainly, I don't want to use the term fast here, but I'm much more efficient in the assembly process. And the strength, when it's done properly, is just as good. Welding has its place by every means, but for me, riveted boats, they are just strong as can be when done properly.
So I know that Maryland is a big supporter of the Ray Electric Outboard. They pretty much own the market up there. What kind of speeds do the boats that you're building see with those Ray Electric Outboards?
I mean, the fully loaded up boats, which pretty much are just like a regular bass boat where the guy's going to have 20 rods and a Bass Pro Shop's full of tackle. You'll see 7.5, 7 3/4, with lead acid powered, 2 guys in the boat. You'll have that kind of range, hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes roughly at full power before you would notice that drop off. But for the 6 reservoirs around here, that's really equates to all day speed. And really with any electric motor, it's not something with the Ray, any electric motor, even if it's what's in your vacuum cleaner. When you reduce power from 100% to 80%, you're effectively doubling your running time. So you might sacrifice a couple tenths, but now you can run all over.
How about with the lithium battery setups?
Lithium batteries, you see a little bit more speed, mainly because the voltage is higher. So without getting, again, a million details, your prop speed's going to be a little faster. Overall, it's not going to double your speed. It's not going to make your boat 2 miles an hour faster, because you still haven't reduced the big problem, the amount of your boat that's wet. And unless you're planing these, and you're really not, you don't see that big change for the amount of money. There's some swaps with maintenance with most of them, but still for the dollar, I think lead acid's still your best way to go currently.
Can we see a few of the boats that you've gotten sitting around the shop?
Let's see. If I step out of the way here, let me kick this Ray motor out of the way. Current boat, can you see that okay?
I can.
That is a 1648 Alumacraft, an older boat, which I get a lot of. And I take the principles that I use on my favorite boats that are the G3s and apply them to pretty much any boat hull. It takes some tweaks. I would say I've seen a lot. I've never said I've seen it all, but I've worked on a lot of boats. So I kind of can adjust things to make it fit. And this particular boat, what you see is the superstructure's done. The aluminum skins are on top. And right now I'm actually making the frames that these skins sit on. So as this boat progresses, everything gets filled in, then carpeted, and it looks like a regular boat. So, and I'm going to take you for a ride here across the shop, and you can see a pre-made boat. Hopefully that's showing up good.
Yes, sir.
Another thing that gets in here, this is going to have a 48-volt Ray, but I'm going to sneak you over to this guy's rigging compartment and see if you can get a look in. There's a Lithionics module. It's a 51-volt module. There's the battery manager tucked in the corner. I know there's so much, that goes into these boats just beyond the building part, the electronics portions you got to keep up with, the trolling motors, the this, the that. There's so much that goes into one of these builds. When I get a client that comes in here and sees the palette of stuff, they're like, how do you even keep track of all that? Down to, plumbing components, right down to the boxes of rivets and stainless steel screws. All that stuff's got to be accounted for. I can even tell you at the tail end what I've added to your boat weight-wise because I keep track of everything. So once your boat's finished, you have quite a file that's in my possession, including the scale drawings for your boat.
So about how much weight do you add to a empty aluminum hull?
A typical boat, I'm going to add about, say, to an 18-foot boat, I'm going to add about 300 pounds of aluminum and carpet to it. And then beyond that, batteries, of course, we know what they weigh. And then it's going to be what you carry personally, the motor you choose to put on the back, trim tilts, jack plates, shallow water anchors, it's just a myriad of things. And, probably one of the hardest things with these boats is getting the balance, which is another thing with these boats that's very difficult, is resisting the urge, put everything in the back. To get these boats to run properly, the back of the boat needs to be as empty as you can keep it from a weight standpoint.
That's
but
right.
They're all a little different. Everybody's boat's a little unique, whether it's a console boat, tiller, stick steer. So they all take a little bit of tweaking.
That's right. So you build all your hatches. Have you ever thought about going to drop-in hatches, or is there a reason that you build them all?
For example, I think most guys would be familiar with, say, like R&R Designs in Texas that do, the drop-in hatches you've seen in the Cabela's catalog or Bass Pro Shops catalog over the last gazillion years. For me, it's all about, I make everything to fit. So if you tell me, hey, I store my tackle in this, or I need something this size. And again, every aluminum boat, none of them are perfect. So to buy a pre-sized hatch would force you to do things in a boat that might not work. For me to make the hatches, I know all the carpeting's going to fit properly. Everything's going to wrap right down to the hinges that I had custom made to go in the boats that I build. It doesn't look, it's a piano hinge, but it's not a normal piano hinge. So when the boat's finished, you can see it, but you can't touch it. It's kind of buried below the top of the boat. So it really comes out nicely. But controlling all those things allows me to really make the fit and finish kind of the way I want it, which is maybe a little too perfect, but that's me.
That is awesome. And you are definitely a master craftsman. And, I appreciate everything you're doing up there in Maryland.
Oh, I'm just a try every day kind of guy. And again, back at you, your website and what you're doing for these Jon Boat guys is phenomenal, pulling everybody together. When I got into this, I was, this should just be something to do on the side. I had no idea of the scope of these reservoirs that are, everywhere in this country. Every pretty much metropolitan city is going to have a handful of them that if you don't have an electric boat, you're not getting in. And the fisheries, at least in this area, are spectacular.
Phenomenal. So, it's same here in Georgia. It's, to me, a lot of times there's the best fishing in the state is in these smaller reservoirs. And a lot of times the only way to get to them is with an electric only rig.
That's kind of how it is. I mean, that's what we face here. And unless you've got the electric boat, with the exception of the one or two places where you can rent a boat, yeah, you're stuck. And like I said, the big thing that I've, grown up fishing all the tidal stuff around here. I'm right at the top of the Chesapeake Bay. You get rid of the tides and you get rid of the recreational boaters. It's a much more enjoyable experience.
That
Still
is true.
fishing, but a little more enjoyable.
No jet skis, no
nothing.
wake
Peace and
boats.
quiet, wildlife.
That's exactly right. That is why I personally came back to it. Got off the craziness from Lanier and Hartwell and get out there where I can just enjoy the day.
It's nice. It's quiet. There's a big change when you go from that blum, 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 to silence. When you hear the water, you don't hear the outboard running. So I miss this. The 70 miles an hour is fun, but yeah, I'll take this now. It's nice and relaxing and peaceful. And someday you're going to see boats doing that. You'll have an electric boat that can get, that can plane, that can go 60 miles an hour, that won't cost you $500,000.
Exactly. Because technology is getting there, that's for sure.
Yep. And it's more so from the guys that I talk to in the industry. It's not so much the motor technology as it is the power for the motors, having that battery capacity and, current capability for them.
Well, one more time, if people are looking to check you out or have a boat built by you, how do they get in touch with you?
ReservoirBoatworks.com. You can email me right through the website. You can email me directly, reservoirboatworks@hotmail.com, or you can call the shop, 443-402-1024. I'm available pretty much 7 days a week, unless I'm fishing.
That's awesome. And I don't think your phone will ring off the hook, but maybe you'll pick up a few people looking to get a boat.
Just, if anything else, the guys want some information, they're doing it themselves. They want to know how to get some of these products. I'm more than happy to tell you how to do it, how to put it together. It's not easy, but I can tell you how to do it.
Well, I appreciate your time, and I am sure I will be in touch.
Yeah, like I said, any questions, you need anything, hey, where do I get this? Where'd you find that? How'd you make this? Just give me a shout.